Well, a warm welcome to you all. I'm JJ. I'm a life coach and I eat mostly meat.
I'm Eric. I'm a novelist and I eat mostly meat.
And not only do we eat mostly meat, but sometimes we travel for the meat.
Yes, that's not what we did this time, though. We traveled for a meetup.
A meetup.
And it was Meatstock 2025 in Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
Yes.
Now, we don't want to do a boring day-by-day, moment-by-moment drip report. We want to talk about the biggest takeaways from the event. Mm-hmm. And then maybe at the end, we'll tell a few other sort of non-carnivore related anecdotes that might be of interest. It includes bears.
It does.
So if you're interested in bears, stay tuned.
Oh, well, my biggest takeaway was surprising to me. Very surprising because it was around, I feel like I need a drum roll, oxalates. Now, Sally K. Norton, author of Toxic Superfood, was at the event as a speaker, and I've seen her interviewed before.
Yeah, many times.
And I've heard everyone talking about oxalates here and there.
We have the book. We've read the book.
He's read the book. I was sort of like, yeah. Because, my journey's been fairly smooth and I feel pretty good.
Right, because you didn't have oxalate dumping problems.
No.
Right.
I've had a pretty smooth journey. But every now and then I hit a hiccup. And it's really interesting because last week was our anniversary. And that's when I hit one of those hiccups. And that's what I've been noticing more and more in the last 6 months is that if I eat, I've got like a buffer. And if I eat beyond the buffer, it seems like I have some issues. So what I mean is if I eat off too many salads, mostly. But for our anniversary, not only did I have that extra dinner salad, not even a side salad, a dinner salad, but I also had our celebratory nearly carnivore ice cream. And the reason it's not carnivore is because it contains a lot of cocoa.
Which contains?
A lot of oxalates.
So how did you connect the dots?
So this I also thought was really interesting because Sally didn't speak till day 2. There were 2 days of the conference. Day 2 was her time slot. Day 1, someone in the audience, a hairdresser, asked a question, and she was having a lot of pain, as they often do in their upper back, and her traps specifically. And she asked the question to the panel, and the panel answered. And then they were about to defer to Sally when Sally said, I'd like to take this one from the audience, right? And she said something that I didn't even quite understand, but it was something around how oxalates can concentrate in areas that have inflammation from overuse or past injury. And I was like, wait, what did she just say? What? And he was like, I don't know. But to me, it was like this lightning bolt from the sky because I was like, wait a minute. Last week, when I was having some issues after eating the extra salad and the ice cream, I had a really tight neck and shoulders, not a hairdresser, I get that. Headache, because it's always this part of my neck goes into the headache. And I also, at the same time I had the headache, my old ankle injury was throbbing. So I had throbbing here, throbbing there. And I've noticed that when I do have these issues, that's where it hits. Headache, my whole back gets super tight, get the headache, and my ankle aches. So again, I know it's not like just some chiropractor thing. I know it's inflammation or there's something going on there. And so when she talked about that, like I said, I was like, whoop. And so that night I went back to the hotel room and I had a nice conversation with artificial intelligence. And I fed in about how I normally eat. And here's what I ate last week that was not on plan. And here are the symptoms I had. And AI told me this lines up perfectly with oxalate issues. Not only does it line up, here's the oxalate content of the foods you ate. And oh, by the way, cocoa is heinously filled with oxalates. And I had even said to you, I think I had an issue last time I had this ice cream.
And because she said it to me, I didn't listen and hear it and remember it.
Then she gave her talk day 2, and again, just connected a lot of the dots. And she actually said this upper back thing she's like, it feels like your upper back, your shoulders, your neck are wrapped in shrink wrap. And that's exactly what it felt like. There's so much tension. And then I don't even notice the tension as much, but I noticed the release because it started to release on
She
Friday.
actually said that it gets into the fascia.
Yes.
And makes it, I guess, stiffer than it normally should be.
Yeah.
Which is this layer, very thin layer that covers the muscle. It's what you peel off the chicken breast. That's fascia. And it covers the whole entire body. And I guess if it gets concentrated oxalates, it stiffens up because it's not as flexible.
Yeah. So for me, I had an overconsumption. I don't eat a lot of oxalates normally. And that was like an overconsumption that caused that issue. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the oxalate thing really connected for me as well. Now, on this channel in the past, I had actually talked about thinking I maybe had an oxalate dumping issue because after being carnivore for quite a while, even to getting off of my SSRIs, all of a sudden, some anxiety started coming back. Mm-hmm. Some other aches and pains and stuff would arise, but I always attributed it more to workout injury or bad posture. Mm-hmm. But I too have this back of the neck and shoulder trap clamp down at times, but also a few little neurological issues that could possibly be oxalates, according to Sally. So there was another piece to this, though, that I hadn't remembered hearing from Sally, and it had to do with the skin.
Oh, yes. So on our flight out, I'm wearing some like pedal pusher cuffed pants, right? I can see my ankles. And I look down and they look so dry. And I'm like, this is weird because since I've been on carnivore, I haven't really had dry skin. I used to have really bad dry skin on my legs in the winter. Wisconsin gets pretty dry. So it would get dry, flaky, itchy, etc. But number 1, haven't had it on carnivore. Number 2, it's not winter. But I was like, okay. So I just slathered on some tallow balm and went on my way. And then lo and behold, day 2, I put on my shorts and I look down and my skin is all white. So I put on the tallow balm, go to Meatstock, and then Sally is talking about how oxalates can cause your skin to be chalky. And I'm like, what? I have had chalky skin this week.
Well, during the break, we go outside. I'm in shorts. I look down at my leg and I'm like, well, my leg's pretty chalky looking, but my legs are shockingly white because I haven't any tan on them since last summer.
Yeah.
And so, but I look at it and then I start going, well, this winter I did have exceptionally dry shins and knees, which you would think, well, Wisconsin winter, that wouldn't be unusual, except for I'd never experienced it before. I just chalked it off as some sort of weird carnivore thing that is inexplicable. But then I think now it's a weird carnivore thing that is explicable. Mm. And it is probably some oxalate release.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And it was another thing that sort of convinced me to take another look at oxalates. So the problem is that if you look at Sally's book and you look at the symptomology, it matches up with the symptomology of a dozen other possible chronic issues.
Yeah.
Including mold exposure. So it's sort of like, how do you know which it is? Mm. Well, I think that one thing is we have a remodeled house that doesn't have mold in it.
Yes.
We're carnivores.
Yes.
So, and I know that I consumed massive quantities of sweet potatoes, chocolate, greens,
beets,
green smoothies, beets in my salads,
spinach, lots of
chard,
spinach,
spinach, kale by the bushel. And loaded up on that stuff. So it's reasonable to think about that. Now, I've always had this crystals in my eyes, more or less, but that doesn't mean that I'm not dumping oxalates. It just means that before I was probably just consuming too many oxalates in some form. Even when I was a kid, eating as much chocolate as I could get my hands on. So all of that, and sweet tea, lots of sweet tea. So all of that gets us to the point is like, okay, what are we going to do?
Yeah. What are we going to do?
Her problem seems to be exposure and consuming it. And my problem seems to be just dumping it. Well, one thing is if you're dumping it, you drink some tea and that's supposed to stop the body from dumping it in mass quantities and the symptoms go down, then you know you're on the right track. But the other thing is, how do you start to get the oxalates out? And she's got a protocol that, at least in part, is lemon water.
Yes.
Now, lemon water, it's like, well, that's not very carnivore. On the other hand, apparently the citric acid softens the oxalate crystals so that they can be removed.
Absorbed, whatever happens.
Without as much discomfort.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be an experiment of some lemon water and some tea and just see what happens.
Yeah. And that's all we can do.
Yeah. It's not like I'm suffering severely, but if some of these issues resolve, well, then I'll know.
But she also talked about, and this was weird too, because again, you read the book. I have not read the book, but she kept bringing up those imminent thoughts of doom, or what? How did she put that? Yeah. Repeating thoughts of doom. You're fine. And then all of a sudden you get these thoughts of doom and you can't stop them, ruminating on them.
Yeah.
And she says that's attributed to it as well, I guess, in the brain, right?
Yeah. She says there's tons of them in the brain.
Yeah. And again, that could be an explanation for doing really well and then having a little dumping that's causing some anxiety.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
So that's exciting, and I will pursue it.
Yeah.
Oh, now I need to say that my anxiety level has since dropped significantly.
Yes.
So I don't think the anxiety issue is where I'm going to notice a difference. It's going to be this back of the neck, head, shoulder thing, maybe the neurological little twitches I get in one leg that sometimes are there and sometimes aren't. But then again, I like to change like 8 things at a time. So it's who knows what it is that causes that to stop happening, because it was very bad in maybe March. And I started taking a number of different supplements, including some desiccated liver, just trying to shotgun it, and it helped. But who knows, maybe I was having a few more salads or something than usual. And that also kind of was like the substitute of, instead of the black tea, it was introducing just enough to keep me from dumping oxalates.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. If you have experience with this, let us know in the comments, because I'm very interested in it. And I want to know your success or your challenges with it.
Yeah. So I did not see that coming. Like when I looked at the list of people who were going to be there, I was excited to hear from Sally, but I didn't think that was going to be my big, huge takeaway. But she was a popular. I mean, all of the doctors and influencers.
Well, they're so recognizable, and she was doing sidebar conversations with so many people, about their issues. And she seemed happy to do it. Yeah.
All of the influencers and the doctors were so incredibly generous with their time with the community and just trying to help people troubleshoot their issues when they'd bring them to the doctors, especially. And even Dr. Barry, I saw him recording a voice memo for someone so that person could take that information to his doctor back home.
Yeah.
It was just, they were all amazing.
So was there any other takeaways for you that were big that are going to change your future?
Oh, I don't know about any that will change my future.
Like how you're going to do carnivore or anything you're going to add to your protocol?
I mean, I felt even more and more inspired to just stay the course. That's a huge part of it. And having this, what I also left with having this channel was hearing everybody's different stories. And one of the big things that people kept saying, whether they were influencers or doctors, is along the lines of carnivore is not magic.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people talking about how they're at Meatstock, right? Carnivore did a lot for everyone in that room. And there are a lot of people there who were also continuing to have some issues. And so the story was to keep eating the meat, don't give that up, and to keep looking for those answers.
Experiment.
Yep. Experiment, talk to others in the community, see what they've done. For some people, it's oxalates. For others, it might have been a peptide assistance helping. Other people had to go on other CIRS protocols, which is chronic inflammatory response syndrome. So there are other therapies that can be done, and just keep going.
Yeah.
Really. Experiment.
So my second big takeaway, aside from oxalates, was really related to a carnivore influencer doctor who wasn't there. And it came up because somebody mentioned ferments.
Mm-hmm. Was it Benazati?
I might have been. And that was for gut microbiome.
Mm-hmm.
And that got me thinking about Dr. Sean O'Mara, who wasn't there. But I know that he eats ferments and he really advocates for it. And so my brain was like, I felt like because of IBS, I had been down the road of taking probiotics.
Oh.
That did nothing. Mm-hmm. No difference. But it connected because I just finished a course of Cipro for prostatitis, which may or may not have been indicated, but I took it anyway. And of course, I've completely wiped out a huge chunk of my microbiome. So I was like, well, this is a great opportunity to repopulate with some of the good guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the reason I got to thinking about him is he's also like the visceral fat is the big enemy. It's causing all these inflammatory problems. And I've kind of bought into that, but I also kind of felt like maybe I'm at a pretty good weight.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe the visceral fat is something that I want to attack more deliberately and more directly. Now, you may have seen my video where I did sprinting. On Cipro, you don't sprint because it can create tendon tear risks. So there was a lot of other extenuating circumstances that have kept me from running. And so I got to thinking like, I want to do some ferments and I want to get back to my sprinting and working on my visceral fat issue. Mm-hmm. So even though he wasn't there, I binged some Dr. O'Mara that this morning and on the way home, and I'm trying to formulate in my mind exactly how I want to approach that. But one of the amazing things that he said was, if you hate fermented foods, if you hate sauerkraut, me, or unsweetened yogurt, I can't take it. Kefir, which I've never even tried because I can't even pronounce it, but it doesn't sound good. He said it's probably because you don't have the right microbiome, because if you have it installed, then those foods actually taste better. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in acquiring that taste, but he said don't just start jamming down high amounts of it. He actually says dip your finger in it, lick your finger, drink some water, and that's your first dose. He said, because then you begin the colonization and then the flavor tolerance can build from there. So I'm going to approach it like that.
Mm-hmm. We got sauerkraut on the way home from the airport. Now, Dr. O'Mara wasn't there, but I did hear that Dr. Baker was doing sprints in the courtyard.
Yeah, and we missed that.
Yeah, we missed it.
Because Meatstock has kind of two components to it. There's like a smaller group that stays at the cabins at the venue. And I don't know, they have some programming that I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And part of that was he got up in the morning early and people could join him to do workouts. So
Yeah.
been interesting to see Goliath sprinting.
I really would have been interested to see that.
I know I've seen videos of it and I know he's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Seeing it in person would be much different.
Yeah. And Dr. Kiltz was there.
Yes, he was.
Speaking of the David to the Goliath. Dr. Kiltz, very muscular, very small man. He's got a smaller build than Dr. Baker for sure.
Yep.
But he never sat down
Nope.
the entire
Except for when he was on a panel.
Oh, yeah.
Where he had to sit. But otherwise he was
Oh, my God.
standing and usually in motion.
Yeah.
He was all over the place.
Yeah.
And of course, he's a good, of the doctors, he's sort of a good counterbalance
Yeah.
to the do blood labs and measure everything, to more of a, you need to de-stress and go with the flow kind of an attitude.
Yeah.
So that was a good balance to have.
Yeah. Oh, I really appreciate that as well, even though we tend to do tests.
So those are the two takeaways. Now, for the rest of the video, I want to talk about a couple of the influencers
Okay.
and the bear. There's probably two bear stories. We had met Ginny Middich and her husband a couple of times at different events. And they saved our bacon.
Oh, my
Yesterday.
gosh. Oh.
They're so generous with their time and invited us up to the green room because Jenny was on the panel, interviewed us for a later video of hers. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Real short, quick hit thing. But there was a little bit of a mix up with the shuttles from the venue to the hotel.
Oh. Now,
And it was causing me stress.
yes. Now, we've said it on this channel before. Eric is very introverted. Now, he can totally have conversations, no problem.
I did.
You had many, many conversations. And that's a lot for you.
Yep.
Okay. I can do a little more than him. Well, quite a bit more. But by day 2, at the end of the day, I was pretty much done too. And there's a lot of it's just a very large, crowded environment, music, talking. There's a lot.
Yeah.
So we were both done.
I was pretty fried.
Yeah.
In a very noisy environments, I have a hard time hearing individuals. And so it wears me out. So it was...
I want to say something though. So if you are ever at an event and you see us, please feel free to come up to us.
Yes.
So we might not be doing the whole mingle thing like some more extroverted people, but absolutely we want to hear from you. So
Yes.
please come talk to us.
That's true because I'm unlikely to go talk to anybody at random.
Yeah.
But anyway, the point being is that it was the end of the second day and I said, I just need to get out of here. Grabbed the backpack. We said our goodbyes and headed out. And there was going to be a shuttle leaving at 4:30 to take us back to the hotel, which is a 15, 20-minute drive from the venue. Next year, it's at a different place. So none of this applies to next year. You should go.
Yes. Next year.
And
Yeah.
I go up to the shuttle. I'm like, you going to be driving? And he's like, there's an issue with the shuttles. We were going to have X number and now we have one. Okay, we might have 2. So we're not leaving until the last talk is done. And it's going to be leaving a little later than planned. And so I am immediately trying to get an Uber on my phone. There is nowhere Ubers coming for anybody. Except for one of the doctors
prearranged an Uber 2 days ago because I was like, and I wasn't trying to get on her Uber, right? But I was like, you did get an Uber? She's like, yeah, and she asked, she was going to the airport. She actually offered a ride.
Yeah. So anyway, that was Dr. Salt and she was great, by the way.
Yes. Oh, so good.
So we're standing there kind of going, and I'm trying to get my cortisol down because I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at the venue. Things happen. I'm not mad at the organizer. I just want to go back to the hotel and lie down and listen to silence. And we're standing there going, we're going to be here for a while and I'm done. And then Jenny's husband comes out and here's our situation. He's like, well, maybe we could drive you. And Jenny comes out and she hears our issue and she's like, we're driving you back to the hotel. Don't worry about it. We've got you. So we got in their truck and they drove us and saved us.
Yes.
And it was so good.
It was so good.
I was like, we must have some good karma stored up because
oh my God.
I was happy to cash it all in for that ride. So that was great, great, great.
Yes. There was another amazing, well, again, a lot of people were just amazing. But this influencer, I got to finally meet Bella, and that was wonderful. She was delightful. And her husband, one of the nicest people ever born on this earth, I swear.
Yeah, unbelievably nice guy.
Oh.
And one of the reasons I think that is because we had met them the first day and introduced ourselves. And I think you said something about we had the channel. And the next day...
Actually, there's a little prequel to that.
There's a prequel
to
that.
So hold on.
Okay.
So hold on to the next day. So she was standing right behind our chair. We were in the back.
Oh, right.
And so I was like, oh, she's right there. Great. So I turned around. She was talking to someone. And I was like, oh, great. She's right here. Well, that person left. And the next person cut in front of me. And her husband, I think his name's Max. I hope I'm right. He saw that and he's like, he talks to me on the side. He's like, what's your name? And he's like, okay, I've got you. And I'm like, okay, thank you. And I'm thinking, maybe he's got me. Maybe he doesn't. Just because there are so many people.
Yep.
Nothing about him. Oh no, he had me. He was sure that I was going to be that next person to talk to her and was just, again, so incredibly kind. And just that right there, I was like, wow.
Yep. So the next day we get a photo op with Bella, which is fun. And her husband takes the picture and I say something stupid like I always do, like, because he shows me the picture. He's like, is this okay? And I'm like, yeah, except I'm in it. And he's like, no. He gives me a hug. He remembers my name from the day before.
Yeah.
Just so genuine and nice. And Bella was the same, just extremely gracious.
Yeah.
Very tall.